All right, says it's streaming. Hello, everybody. All right. It tells me it's live. I think you guys can see me now. Hello, Bose Os. Is that like Boz Australia or something like that? Thank you for joining me. Good to have you guys here today. We had an amazing day at Metasource Games. We woke up early. We had pretty much everything ready to go from the beginning. Our team Apex NFT, they were there with us, making sure that the Lumberjack event on Wax went well. Everything launched. Everybody is crafting their lumberjacks. We have about 3,000 lumberjacks crafted now. I think we do something kind of fun tonight. I think we're going to jump into the Discord. I might need to figure out how to make sure the audio is getting recorded from the Discord, but I thought it'd be cool maybe to kind of connect with some community members today. And then tomorrow, Josh and I are going to hold an AMA at 11 a.m. PDT. I believe that's 6 p.m. PST, basically the same time as a Lumberjack drop. We're going to hold an AMA tomorrow. We're going to give away 2 Kings packs during that. So if you join, you'll be able to get the information about where the link is for that giveaway. Nice. Boz says, yeah, Boz, Australia. Cool. K Peters, good to see you, K. He says, night, Robert. Lumberjacks, you going to bed? Is it you leaving us? Let's say Bo. Bo says, sup, got my first lumberjack. Woot. Nice. Nice. So happy you got your lumberjack. And get you into the crafting part of our ecosystem here at Metasource Games. So, and Castles NFT. All right, so I'm actually going to join the parlor room in our Discord. So if you're in Discord, you want to talk with us, talk with me, go ahead, join the parlor room. And as long as there's not too many people, we don't get like 20 people in there, we can all kind of talk here live on YouTube. Be pretty cool. And of course, if anybody doesn't feel like, being on the YouTube for whatever reason, that's cool too. But I thought maybe it'd be nice to chat openly with some of the community members here tonight. Yeah, we have a voice channel called the Parlor Room in Discord. So if you join that, you'll see me there. So maybe I will invite some people who are not watching the stream. We don't have to chat. You can just play some games too. Just play some games. This is the just chatting section of the video. So yeah, we had a few little hiccups here with the lumberjacks in the beginning. It wasn't too terrible. Voice chat. All right, I'm just inviting some people. Somebody is tagging me in Brazil. What? Oh, looks like somebody was posting some spam in a channel. We had to take care of that. But everybody had a good time during the lumberjack event. I had to take a nap today. I was so pooped out, guys. I was like, you'd like just an hour and a half of some sleep before the stream. Kay says 4 a.m. here. Love the lumberjack event. Nice. Gosh, 4 a.m. is early. It's around the time I wake up sometimes. Our Apex NFT team is in Brazil, so they start working around 6 a.m. Devi Metal, our moderator and community support official Metasource Games team. Good to see you, Devi Metal. Von Condor says, hi, can't stay for too long tonight. Good to see you, Von Condor. Devi says, if the excitement crashes the website, even though you beefed it up, I call that a success. Yeah. You know, what's funny is that I didn't know how to beef up the website. And so, and this was probably like a blind spot that we had. We didn't realize that there would be that many users who would want to go ahead and craft. So, one of our is Zhao actually. Zhao went. He showed us where to basically upgrade it, and it was really simple. I just didn't know where to find it because it's really complicated inside of the app there. But all I had to do was just basically upgrade the amount of CPUs, and we got a dedicated server. And luckily, that stuff happens all pretty fast now with cloud computing, and that's pretty cool. He says, hello, Juvid says, can you increase the mic volume a bit? Oh, am I low? Let's take a look at that. I don't think I need to increase my microphone volume. I'm looking at the audio levels here, and it's in the yellow. It actually is occasionally peaking red, which if anything means my audio is actually a little too loud, but it's probably just in the right area. So does anybody else need me to speak up? Because looking at the audio levels here, if I turn this up any louder, it could blow somebody's speakers out, or it could start to, do something like that. Kay says volume is perfect. Yeah, I think you might need to turn up your PC volume or your headphone volume. Devi Metal says currently 3,054 lumberjacks crafted in 6 hours. Yeah, I think that is probably going to be like a huge bulk of it. I think a lot of people probably got their lumberjacks right now. I would be surprised to see us go over 6,500 lumberjacks. Yeah, people are saying the volume is just fine. Yeah, I think so too. Well, no one's joining me in the parlor room. I'm so sad. No one's. Debbie, you don't want to join me in the parlor room chat? No, nobody. But yeah, I think maybe I'll keep the parlor room chat open for a little bit. But we're gonna play some games, right, guys? What do you guys want me to play? I could play more Satisfactory. I really do. I just clicked on Satisfactory now. It's launching it. But I could play some more Satisfactory. I could play some Fortnite. I kind of got started in No Man's Sky. Factory. I can play some Fortnite. Oh, I can hear myself. Whoever just joined the chat. No Man's Sky. Factory. I can play some Fortnite. We're about to play. There we go. Uh-oh. We're playing the Echo game. There. Okay, I think that's better. Let's see who joined us actually in the parlor room. Ah, it is Devi Metal. He's just got to get a headphones on or something. It'll be fun to talk with Devi, guys. Bo's says Satisfactory is so good. I know, right? Like, when you play Castles, don't you feel like you're playing Satisfactory? Be honest. Like, you get the Baron who makes the farms, who produces the M-Source. The M-Source makes lumberjacks. The lumberjacks will make lumber and then carpenter. It's like Satisfactory, guys. Like, Satisfactory is basically Castles. Except you can actually sell and trade the stuff that you make. So awesome. So awesome. K. Peter says he aimed for 3K, so his guesstimation is out of the door. Yeah, undershot it a little bit. Honestly, I didn't know how many were going to be crafted, so I didn't even try to guess. Because we had a projection of maybe like 4,000. But then we gave you guys an extra week, and then I was like, I haven't done the math for the extra week, and I've been too busy to even think about it. It was like, it just is going to be whatever it is. Debbie Metal says, my rough thought is day one will account for 50% of total lumberjacks. Yeah, I feel the same way, like that's also going to be the case. Let's see, Deb, you're still muted. Are you trying to find your microphone or something? And maybe he can't find his microphone, guys. Sirkin says, hi, hello, Sirkin. Bozau said, played much Valheim. You know, I did play some Valheim. We actually had a dedicated Valheim server for our community in the Discord. I actually think we still have it. Just none of us have played it in forever, and I'm like still paying the monthly fees for our dedicated server. Can we get a leak about dungeons before I crash to sleep? Ooh, you want to get a leak for dungeons? Should I give you guys a leak for dungeons? I don't know about that. Should I? Like, I don't want to reveal too much too soon, but I might be able to do something for you. Um, let's. I give you basically just like the tiniest taste of what we're doing here.
So many teases the last couple days.
We've had a lot going on though too. Hello
awesome.
there.
Oh, Captain.
Let's see. Is that you, Debbie? It's kind of hard to.
Yes. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, it's just I have to turn down satisfactory because it's being so loud. Okay. Oh my gosh!
I had to find my headphones.
There we go. All right, turning satisfactory way down. All right, so you guys should be able to hear Debbie Metal, right, guys? Let me know if you can't hear him. He's talking now. So I'm going to let's see. I guess I'll just download these two. This is like basically the most low-level teaser I can give you guys. But this is like just like the start of things, and I could show you guys something else that'll probably make you more excited about this, but I'm not going to do that yet because I think we should save a certain reveal for, let's just put it this way, for how we're doing the gameplay of the dungeons. We're doing something a little bit special, so it's not just kind of like the artwork that I'm going to show you guys two pieces of artwork here. Let's see. Let's just open this with a viewer. Cool, actually. So these two are actually loading now. All right, you guys ready for this tease for dungeons? Let me go back into the chat. Where did the chat go? Here it is. Ozaz says the most recent update looks good. You mean, it's Satisfactory or Factorio? Recommend Factorio if you enjoy Satisfactory. Yeah, I've actually played a game of Factorio. I think I played 2 sessions of Factorio on stream so far, which is, yeah, very similar to Satisfactory. K. Peters says, yes, please. Yeah, you were the one who asked, so here you go. Courtesy of K. Peters, everybody. Let's see. I need to go here. And why don't I just make myself kind of small? Ooh, there we go. All right, we'll chat in a second, Debbie Mello. Actually, you can let me know what you think here of what I'm about to show everybody. Let's go.
I'm just pulling up YouTube here because I'm listening to you in the parlor room. I have to mute the YouTube, otherwise I get 2 audios.
That one actually. I wanted to. Okay, got it. Well, you can always just turn down the audio too.
Oh, that looked infinite.
Oh yeah. Great. Kind of giving away a couple of secrets here because of this, but Edge. Where is it? Oh. No, it's not supposed to be Edge. It's the image viewer. Am I blind? I'm just not seeing it. Photos. There it is. Oh, it's not even showing it. The guys is not showing it. It's just all black. All right.
Teaser is in the dark.
Teaser in the dark. All right. Well, we could just do it the way I was doing before with the window capture. I mean, I just have so many browsers open and stuff. I just don't want to give away too much. I mean, you know, don't want to give away too much of what's happening. Let's see. So we'll go display capture. All right, then we'll do this. All right. And actually, I need to put this actually behind here. There we go. All right. So this is again just like the most simplest of teasers. We actually have like 4 artists working for us right now on Castles. One is focused
Ooh.
on doing the website renovation, so updating the website, making it look good. He was working in tandem with our UI UX basically developer. We have someone who's focused solely on making like a user interface experience and basically making that good for everybody. So when we originally made the Castles website, it turns out that we did have a UI UX designer for the Metasource cards website initially, and then what happened was we just kind of scaled up into like a development team, and then the development team ended up being mostly like no UI UX people. It was like me, the front end developer, and I kept expecting the front end developer was like a UI UX person. And the more time that went on, I realized that they weren't. Like the front end person was more about doing the code, and we kept trying to like shoehorn them into like being a user experience person, and it didn't work. We always had like 3 or 4 people like, should this be like 25% bigger, or should it be purple, or should it be yellow? And I'm just like, why is it taking 4 people to figure this out? And so the website ended up looking like, the Castles website specifically ended up looking what it looks like right now. And so we were like, okay, so that doesn't work. In order for us to scale up, we need to just make the website way better. So hire a full-time UI UX person whose job it is to make sure the website is a great experience. And then we also have a full-time artist now working with them to make the website look, like we want it to look like a fun mobile game. So that is kind of the effort that's going into it now. Additionally, we have 3 other artists now working on the essentially the avatars, like the player heroes. And Josh and I came to a decision where we were like, well, what should we do? Should we, do we want all the characters to be, to use a phrase that's called a tabula rasa? And it basically means like a clean slate. So, if you look at a lot of games like World of Warcraft, whenever you make a character in World of Warcraft, they're all tabula rasas. You basically choose your model, and then you get to dress them up, and they get to be your character. They're a blank slate, and you get to create them. But I was like, I think it's cooler to have actual characters. So let's give them personalities and let's give them character, but let's give people the ability to like really customize them. So this is actually another big leak I'm giving you guys right now, which is there's going to be a lot of character customization inside of the dungeoning. So I feel like this is something that's really missing from like the Wax blockchain specifically, is being able to really kind of have characters that you can actually dress up. A lot of these other games, they'll make you, like CryptoPunks is a great example, or Bored Apes as well. At least with their base assets, they are what they are. They come with like a look. One's got a monocle, one doesn't. It's auto-generated, Instead, we're going to let you guys collect your equipment and then dress your characters how you want. And there's going to be a range of equipment. I probably shouldn't get too much into it, but basically this is like the very first image, first draft, and again, this is this is concept art. So like this isn't at all final. It's just like what could this character look like? And our main artist manager, like the guy who is basically in charge of managing our artists, like he was so excited about for this particular character, he's actually jumping in to do some of the character concept art himself for basically her facial expressions and her personality. So that's really inspiring to me, because I've had a long relationship with him, working together for almost 10 years on art stuff. He did my original game, Immortal Souls, Dark Crusade. If you guys can find it, it's kind of hard to find out because Flash is no longer really played much on the internet. But anyway, so this is the first draft of this particular character, who is I guess I'll give you guys this. We're going to call her the Spellbinder. So she's basically like a mage, and some of her equipment is just some of the items that you'll be, again, this is concept art of what some of her items might look like. And like a lot of the stuff we do, we try to do as high quality as possible, and we're willing to pay our artists for better artwork, and I think that also separates us from a lot of other guys on Wax. If you go on Wax and you look at a lot of the other games, like it looks like they spent a little money on the artwork if you're lucky, but it looks like they wouldn't go over a certain budget. If if they're like, oh, well, we could make it look, like twice as good as this, but it's going to cost like twice as much. A lot of the times I've said, okay, sure, like as long as it looks great. so, so we really do care about, the experience that you have with our artwork. And the more time that goes on, the more we kind of solidify our art style as well. Because, I think our art style has kind of shifted a little bit from like the Magic the Gathering kind of look of the cards in the beginning. And my plan is eventually that you have skins and stuff too, so that you can kind of like maybe customize what the farms look like in the future. But it's way down the line. Like Josh and I have all kinds of ideas, but yeah, dungeoning, we're really cranking out to get out as fast as we possibly can, you guys. I think it's still going to take minimum 2.5, 3 months. Like it's a really comprehensive update, but it's going to be worth the wait. And along the way, we're going to be giving you guys sneak peeks of how it's all come together. And then so there's going to be a point where like you guys have seen so much and then you finally see it just really come together, and what's actually happening here is really cool. And last thing I'll say is Josh and I were like late last night, like after middle of the night, where like most people would be ready, just get ready up open in the morning for the big event. Josh and I were on another call, and I was like, hey, I had an idea for the dungeoning. Like, this is what we had planned, and what if we did this? And that would actually enable people to do more, and it would be more gratifying. And he was like, yeah, that's actually a good idea. So, even at the middle of the night, we're still coming up with great ideas and putting them into place for you guys. Whew. I just talked a lot. Say something, Debbie, so I can take a breath.
Yeah, no problem. A lot of what you've put up with this artwork, it reminds me of a lot of the early drawings from Lord of the Rings. I can't remember the two main artists' names, but they did a lot of this similar sort of sketch work in this same kind of approach of just doing the sketches first, and then it would just roll on like, okay, let's make it more like this, let's make it more like that. And especially the character you put up really evokes a lot of that. And I think one of the artists' name might have been John Howe.
What was the
The
name
other
of the
one
game again? I was kind of looking at the chat.
was the Lord of the Rings movies, the trilogy.
Oh, the movies.
Yeah, the two main artists, they did a whole bunch of sketches very similar. What you've put up is like just primitive approaches, so they could branch out however they want.
Yeah, yeah, and what's really cool about this particular one is that he took off on it pretty fast. And he actually, the artist who was drawing these, he messaged us and he was like, hey, like this sounds really cool. Like I'm really inspired to work on this because I love, the inspirations that you guys gave us. And I can't say more than that because it'll tip our hand a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I will say this probably it's probably not giving away too much because we'll probably said it before, but like Dungeons and Dragons is a big influence on us for how this looks and feels. Like I didn't start playing Dungeons and Dragons for real until like I was maybe like 23 or something, but I always was buying the books and I was poring over them and I was like dreaming what it would be like to play with somebody. But when I was growing up, I'm pretty old now, but when I was growing up, I grew up my teenage years in Los Angeles, and it was way harder to find geeks. And geeks back then were like really geeky, like my age, and they were harder to find. The internet's made it much easier to find my people. But, like if I didn't have the internet, I don't know where I'd find my people, because usually I'd go down to like a hobby shop and I'd see a bunch of really, basically a bunch of geeks who like have trouble socializing or something. And I'd be kind of like, this isn't the place for me. But on the internet, I can actually find geeks that I identify with and that I can relate to. But I always had trouble just going to like a hobby shop and finding geeks I could relate to. And when I got older in movies, it got much easier because for some reason the generation, it's Harry Potter. That's why. When the generation just behind me, I'm like a borderline millennial, borderline, I think they're called Generation Z. I'm borderline that. I'm basically kind of both of them. But
Zennial.
the Zennial, yeah, I'm a Zennial, exactly. And so,
Or as I call it, the Oregon Trail generation.
the Oregon, yeah, I was that exactly.
I'm that too.
Nice, nice. Well, it makes a lot of sense why we get along, right? Uh, and so it turns out when I got into Hollywood and all these other millennials, I started meeting all these other millennials, and I was like, wow, you guys are like super geeky. Like you like Dungeons and Dragons, you like comic books, and usually the common denominator was two things: Pokemon and Harry Potter. Like those were the two gateway drugs that got all those kids into things. But Harry Potter didn't come out until I was maybe like 16, like the first book, and that was just probably the first book came out around that year, maybe 1996 or something like that. And so it wasn't
Sounds
even
about right.
popular yet, So it took years for it to become popular, but yeah, all those millennials saved my life because I was like, oh my gosh, like you were my people. And as I've gotten older, I guess I've just started to accumulate more like-minded people. But it was really rough for me for really early in my life where I loved this stuff and I had a lot of pent-up inspiration and love for like Dungeons and Dragons that I really didn't get to express until I got older. So anyways, yeah, Dungeons and Dragons is a big influence here. And part of the cool thing about Dungeons and Dragons is it's a great combination of self-expression and strategy. So, if you're someone who loves to express yourself in imaginative ways and you love strategy, Dungeons and Dragons is like the perfect thing for you to play because it marries those things. So our goal is to do the same thing with the castle's dungeoning and to kind of give the experience that not only do you get this chance to express yourself with these characters and dress them up how you like, but you also have the feeling that you can actually use deep strategies inside of the game. And I think a lot of people, when they hear me say deep strategies, it's really hard to imagine because so many of these other games are so simple. It's like attack something and it dies or it doesn't die. So we've tried to find a way that is actually even deeper than the core Castles game. It's probably, I mean, it's a little more complicated, but not like too complicated, right? I think we found a really great mix between making a deep system for the dungeon without making it too complicated. But yeah, I need to take another breath again. Poof, Debbie. I keep I keep talking.
Yeah, you're talking about which you've said a few times is the simple but deep philosophy, the simplicity combined with the depth, and for me, that's a huge part of what's made Castles a great success, especially in the Discord chat rooms, is seeing day after day, especially this last week leading up to the event starting today, how much strategizing I've watched people do in the Discord has been phenomenal. Like the amount of like deep math people are doing on what are simultaneously simple strategies. And it's just drawing in all kinds of people. Like we've seen people come into the Discord who, as you've pointed out more than once, don't really know a thing about wax yet. So we're kind of providing a platform for those people. Then we have other people come in who know all about everything and they're like, hey, heard about this game. What's it about? Where do I throw my money? And it's just becoming a win-win. And I think it might have been Josh I was speaking to recently who said, just wait until the market turns to a bull market with everyone looking at the game this way.
Yeah,
So
that's a great point.
it's going to be fantastic to see where it goes from here, and especially considering we're still only basically 6 hours into a 2 week event. It blows my mind that we're already where we're at.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just love everything that you said, and it does kind of surprise me too the strategies that people have been kind of using and going over the numbers. And the funny thing is that a lot of it is kind of simple. I mean, it feels simple to me. And I was actually, if you guys go, there was on our Twitter, there was a call that I was in yesterday with another game called Blockstars.gg. And it's a big game, Blockstars.gg, at least in terms of team. It's made by Silicon Valley Elite. They've worked at Zynga, which makes some of the biggest mobile games. And actually, the guy who was on the call said he actually worked on Star Wars Galaxies because I brought it up because the whole band playing thing in Blockstars reminded me of that, and actually bought some of their assets. but like when they were talking, they were kind of talking about like their game as if like they were trying to mix in monetary stuff, like monetary policy stuff, with the 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 playing of the music in the game. So you have these characters who are like band members, right? And they're going to be venues and they can play and then you earn. But to me, what I like about it is the self-expression thing. So that's why I bought it for, because I think music is a great platform for blockchain games, and it looks like they have some big things in the works. And they're a major company. They're backed by some of the biggest venture capitalist companies. Like we don't even have venture capital backers. Like we're like homegrown, right? But these guys are actually legit Silicon Valley guys, and so I bought a couple of their assets. But the way he was talking about it took me back to like why we do things the way we do it, because I feel like so many other people don't get like what I want. Like they don't understand what it is that I cathartically want out of blockchain gaming, is that fun deep thing. And I feel like it sometimes comes down to simple things, especially if you played games for a long time. There are just some formulas that really work. And if you look at, just say an example, Super Mario Brothers, the original Super Mario Brothers was a great example of how to make a simple game with really deep mechanics. Like, you could hit the bricks, they would explode. You could stand on top of bricks, they could get destroyed. You could jump on top of these turtles, and the turtles could be used as weapons. And you could jump on top of enemies, and the enemies would be used as trampolines. So when we try to build our game, we try to think in that same space. It's like, okay, so you have what the world is, but like, where's the fun? The fun is like in the toys. And so we've built the toys for the land stuff. The toy is the earning of M source. The toy is how much does it cost to merge a land, and the other toy is like, you only have so much time until the land cost doubles, and then we only give away so many of these toys, like the barons, right? Um, so so yeah, I mean, it might be funny to like hear, our blockchain game and Super Mario Brothers in the same conversation, but I feel like when you're trying to create fun, the mechanics are very simple. Like, what is something that you want to do over and over again? What is something that is, fun and exciting and can occasionally surprise you, but also give you what feels like consistent results? And I think that is a lot of what creates fun.
Absolutely. A point I like that you just made in the comparison with the Mario Brothers, um, is how your approach is like you're building a game for fun first, and then the crypto aspect is being put on top of that. So the
Mm-hmm.
game itself functions as is. Whereas so many of the other games on the Wax platform and in blockchain gaming in general, they build for crypto first and then put the game on top of that,
Yeah.
which really limits what they can do with the game.
Yeah.
And you and Josh really took the opposite approach, which I think is the right way to do it. Build for the game first and then integrate the crypto elements. Like I explained to a friend the other day who asked like what I do now. I was trying to explain like the who I work for and what you guys do, and I'm like, imagine if like, and she's a friend who's big into Final Fantasy games, and I said, okay, imagine if all the stuff you made in Final Fantasy was actually worth something. I'm like, that's sort of like the idea is like, just take a game that you love and then put like functional economics that can relate to real world into that, rather than the flip side of just going, okay, let's go for the money first,
Mm-hmm.
and how can we build a game to get there. You want
Yeah.
the other way. You want, how can I build something
Yeah.
fun, and
Yeah.
then, oh hey, can we make a living doing this, by the way?
Hmm. Yeah, the reason is we didn't go for greed first. We went for the gameplay first. And I think that is where
Exactly.
99% of these projects make their mistake, because they look at the way that the rich people became rich, or rather the way rich people stay rich. And the way that they do that is that they basically, the monetary, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing. Many people might see it as a bad thing the way it works, but the way monetary policy works and is that the people who have the most monetary assets, houses, stocks, whatever, all they have to do is sit on those things and they progressively stay wealthy. So, um, it's that way because number one, it really protects everybody who's already in power, so they just keep reinforcing it. And the other thing is that, you know, if someone does make a considerable amount of wealth because they provided a lot of value, say Henry Ford, who's long dead now, but you know, he built an automobile, right? So he has a legacy that has withstood the test of time, and the company's still around. But you know, he was an innovator who created automobiles. But but you know, his ancestors and things are still loaded up on money because of this value that he provided, but it's reinforced by the monetary policies. And if you look at what just happened with the pandemic, where suddenly, you know, people are like, well, you know, are people going to stop buying things when they keep the money flowing, and people who can't buy things need to buy things? But the funny thing is that when it came down to the monetary policy of, you know, those you know, of the relief checks and all that stuff, the people who benefited the most actually weren't the people with very little money. It was the people who own houses and stocks and things like that. Because the people who didn't have any money, they got like maybe a couple $1,000s worth of checks, right? But the people who owned assets, they saw their assets go up by like 50 to 100%. And
Yeah,
still,
for America, definitely.
even after the dip, we're still in this hype. Um, so typically what people then think when they see something like these tokenomic things is they're like, oh, well, let's build for greed and let's just do what the rich do, which is rig the game in their favor. And so we decided to really throw that out the window when it came to you know, the Metasource cards and Castles NFT. And the funny thing is we weren't even sure what the right thing to do was in the beginning. But as these other blockchain game projects failed, we were like, oh, so you don't do that. You don't do the tokenomics thing because that's stupid. But what you can do is
Exactly.
the physics and logistics thing. That makes sense. And then we don't even have to worry about the legal issues either, because we're all about the gameplay. It's all about, you know, we just basically give you guys collectibles that make, you know, new assets. And you know, something the Blockstars representative was saying. I don't know if he was the CEO. I need to look him up. His name is Craig. But he was like, oh, well, we're making sure we're doing everything legally and la la la, you know, and et cetera. And I'm like, well, I don't even have to worry about whether or not I'm doing anything legally, as I already know I am. Like, I know that, like, I'm not rigging the game in my favor in a way that's unfair. I'm basically doing what card collectors do. I'm giving you assets that you can buy, and those assets can make you new assets. It's really cool. And so I know that I have nothing legally to worry about under those situations. Now, in the future, might our company do something more daring that is more, you know, we've had this job token we've talked about before that, you know, could get, you know, we might need to get like legal teams and stuff for that, because there's a lot of really risky things that we do want to do in the future that we think the world is almost ready for. We might not, you know, really get back into that for a couple months, you know, minimum. It might even take us another 6 months to get back into like making 3D games and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm kind of digressing. But yeah, it's really fun to talk about. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off so I can start looking back at the chat again on here. Yeah, but it's good to have you in here, Debbie. So what's it like? What's it like being the community support? Whoops, I just deleted the wrong thing. This is what happens when you don't drive and don't drive and uh-oh, that's not good.
Infinite.
This isn't good. The video capture device is not working anymore.
Reminds me of that old video on YouTube of the guy who clicked on his own live stream in a tutorial.
Uh-oh. Well, that's not good. Oh wait, it's using the wrong camera. That's why I have two cameras on here.
That or you're in the dark.
Yeah, but let's catch up on the chat real quick. Because I think I saw, see, Jeremy Lazan came in here, longtime community member. Thank you for joining us, Jeremy. But yeah, Crypto AI says there was a game called Tabula Rasa. It was a great game. Unfortunately, it didn't survive. Who made that? I almost remember who made that. I forget what it was. Was it Richard Garriott? I think Richard Garriott, also known as Lord British. He made Tabula Rasa, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone can let me know if I'm right or right about that. Go look it up. Boz Oss says concept Sounds great. Looking forward to dungeons. And Kay Peters liked the sneak peek. Are you still awake, Kay? Are you still awake? Maybe he stayed up for all this good stuff here. Gonzalo Martinez says incredible. Michael John says she reminds me of Wonder Woman. Really? Maybe she's going to get some work. That particular character is going to get you know, our one of my favorite artists of that team. He that I've been working with the last 10 years. He's going to give her personality, kind of his own take. And I like his work. JL says, play some Superior by Gala Games. You know, I don't have Superior installed, so maybe next time. See, I don't know. I don't want to play that game and then have to trash talk Gala Games, because I heard that the cheapest asset for that game is $300. Guys, if the cheapest asset in any of our games is ever $300, and like you can't get into the game without paying $300, like someone, you know, come and like punch me. So
which is funny,
at least not for long. Like, you know, we're at, you know, if we know the entry point to the game is $300 only, and there's no other entry point, and we haven't done anything about it in like a month or two, like, yeah, someone punch me, because there's something wrong with that. It's just I made a post on inside the moderators chat, was it, or no, it was Gala Games chat. And after they put the price of like the first Superior hero, which was like minimum was $300, I did this little Zoolander thing where I was like, "What is this? A game for rich people?" It's
yes,
like the Zoolander meme of the guy of Zoolander throwing the little, you know, the house down on the floor. Yeah, but like Superior, obviously a game for rich people. I should be there, right? I don't know about the rest of you, but you know, anybody's good with Gala Games, you can afford $300.
And it's funny because I believe only a couple days ago in chat we had a couple people complaining that the entry point was $30, or I worked it out to that. I'm like, you need 3 farms and some M source. That's like $30 worth of resources, and you're off and running pretty decently.
Yeah, and it does keep going up. It used to be, you know, more like, you know, $10 to $15 to get that merge. You know, as the price keeps going up, you know, we do have to kind of evaluate how to allow people to get into the game. The cool thing is the dungeoning, you'll be able to get in for very low cost. So, you know, things do start to get really expensive and a farm gets up to like $100 or something. Then, you know, well, right, I think we just might have to say, guys, just wait a month or two and then we'll get out the dungeoning.
By the time it gets there, like I've explained to many people in chat now, especially with the huge influx of new people coming in, is trying to explain to them that like this highway has on-ramps all the time. No other game you have ever seen is doing what these guys are doing with this game. If there's not a way for you to get into it right now, take a look at what they're telling you they're working on that's coming in the next 30, 60, 90 days, and there's going to be an access point for you.
Yeah, that is true. Boz Oz says, yeah, they bought more assets rather than needed to pay the bills. Yeah. Boz also says, honestly, I've been really enjoying 2D, 2.5D games like Kingdom 2 Crowns. I played that one. That's a lot of fun. I actually have that one. Yeah, that one's really cool. Gosh, I almost feel like playing that, to be honest. Should I download? It's a long haul game. Like you could sit and like play that game for like 3 or 4 hours straight, guys. Like it's no joke. Crypto AI says, yes, Richard Garriott. See, guys, I am such a computer gaming geek. I know that Richard Garriott made Tabula Rasa back in the day, and it had a short-lived life. But it was supposed to be the spiritual successor to Ultima Online, which was basically the first like MMO RPG with like a graphic interface. JL says Pure is in playtest, beta test right now. You can download it in Gala Discord. Yeah, you know, we actually were developing a game that was like a 5 versus 5 team game, and it's still, we spent like $50,000 on development of that game until we had to shut it down because we just weren't making enough income. We decided to focus on the, you know, Metasource and Castles NFTs because we just felt like that was more achievable, and that, you know, trying to make this other big game, the job token, was probably too big for our britches at the time. But Jeremy says, Debbie, the best time to get into the game is ? That's a little question.
I guess that's become my catchphrase in the Discord, and what it is best time to get into castles is right now. The second best time to get into castles is now.
Or before, but don't worry about that because past is past.
Yeah. But in the chat, I think I worded as the best time to get into castles is right now, and the second best time is wait 5 seconds now.
I like that. It's true. It's what I say is, any assets that are existing right now, our goal is that they become more scarce versus the number of users that we have in the future. So our goal is that in the future, there is like, say a month or two from now, 10 times more users. And then, there's going to be a scarcity of assets. So there's only going to be so many assets existing now. They'll be scarce compared to how many people are playing later.
Uh, and and we have watched the assets go up. Drop price is basically just using the Baron as a baseline marker. It's up like 7, 6, 7, 8 times above market original drop price of $250. And I looked this morning. I bought a Baron on Atomic Hub on March 2nd for $277. That's 3 weeks ago yesterday.
Wow.
I have 6 times in 3 weeks. So it's not too late to get in, because where's it going to be in another 3 weeks, right?
Yeah. I mean, if anyone's really like, hey, have I missed the boat? I mean, my probably best advice is like, if you're really, what's the word? Risk averse, then take a gamble, wait wait a week or something, and then when people start selling the lumberjacks for bargain basement prices, maybe buy those. Again, this is not financial advice, but eventually once those charges run out, there are some people probably going to try to sell them for like basement bargain prices, and maybe you can pick them up and then just sit on them. But our game really is, in its core, it's actually like a market strategy game, like an economic strategy game. And there are plenty of times where I'm like, oh, I probably could have sold something here and then bought it back later. But my philosophy as a developer is I don't get to play the game that way. You guys do, because the way I play the game is I build it. So I make sure that whatever you got right now, people are going to want that in the future because there's not enough of them. So that's my job. That's what I work on. I don't want to use any of my energy being like, oh, should I buy it now or should I keep it or what should I do? Like that. It would be fun, but I'd leave that to you guys to figure out, when to trade your items, when not to. Or you just be like me and just be a massive hodler. I've just held through all of it. I haven't sold a single thing, and so I'm very happy when I see the demand for them go up in the secondary market. I'm like, well, it's a good thing that I'm not a seller.
Well, and also we have Josh is very much involved in talking strategy in the Discord chat as well. So even from the gaming perspective, you guys are still involved in it.
Yeah, I definitely know he loves that part too. He loves the strategizing and like, when should I do a thing? When should I not do a thing? What are people go, how many people, how much are these going to go for? Like he does like to kind of strategize all that stuff. Again, not financial advice. Our game is not really built to be, speculated on is what I'd say. It's just kind of a side effect of it. The side effect of like having scarcity based assets is that the price of them go up. Same way baseball cards. You only produce like 5 baseball cards and they're a hot player and everybody wants those. Price of them is going to go up. That's just the way it is. So the side effect of that is we get to do the speculative game of how much the assets are worth. But I mean, I really enjoy this part. I really enjoy the part of like exclusivity too. And part of our philosophy is that to get access to some of the best gaming, either items or gaming features and utilities, is that you do need certain assets. Not everybody's going to be able to have those assets. Not everyone's going to have a baron. Not everyone's going to have a castle. Not everyone's going to have a lumberjack. And so I think that's probably really valuable information for people. They decide how to play, what to get.
Absolutely, and I think that's a really good point you make in making the comparison with like baseball cards or sports cards, because those go on a seasonal rotation. So very similar to Castles. If someone comes in, they're like, "Oh, did I miss the boat?" Well, maybe you missed the boat on Barons, but now we have Lumberjacks are really accessible. That just started, so it's sort of like this season's baseball cards. You can still get them.
Hmm.
And once we get to next season, oh, did I miss the boat? Well, maybe on Lumberjacks, but now we have Carpenters coming up, and
Yeah.
that's going to be accessible. So that's just the next season of baseball cards.
Yeah, that's a really valuable correlation you've made there with our game that I've never made that connection before. So it's really helpful to me that, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, did I miss it? Like, is it too late? But, if you've ever played like those games like Magic the Gathering, I've never seen anybody ask, oh, yeah, have they sold too many of those Magic cards yet? Because maybe I don't want to buy them. I've never seen anybody say that. you know, I, that
Exactly.
would be a first for me. People are just like, oh no, I need more Magic cards. Got to go buy them. Like I was surprised. I had a friend when I was living in LA. I had a friend. She was an actress, and she's like the last person I would have expected to get into Magic, but she does like board games a lot. Like Clue's one of her favorite games. But once she got into Magic, she got so addicted. Like she was buying packs all the time. She was holding like Magic the Gathering parties. Just go to them, and I'm like, man, and I thought I was a super geek. I don't even play Magic anymore. And she was just like all over buying packs left and right. And but I was also surprised. I'm like, is it like still this big a thing that people are still just like buying these packs after packs, and there are still cards that are rare because the user base is so big? And I guess the answer is yes. It's amazing.
It's fantastic to have a user base that's enthusiastic like that, and I think that's something that you're building with Castles is not just that you're building a user base, but that you're building it long term rather than for like just, oh, what's the next drop? What's the next event? We've seen so many games take an approach like that where it's just like only looking to like the next 2 weeks. And with Castles, anyone who's gotten into the game, you're always talking about stuff that's like 60, 90 days down the road. In Josh's AMA yesterday, I asked him about the long-term vision, and he said you guys always have a really good idea on what's about 4 to 6 months down the road. And
Mm-hmm.
like he said you do have visions that go years, but like that's all really loose stuff. But he said you guys have a really good base for 4 to 6 months. And I'm like, we've all been involved in lots of games that don't have a really good vision for 4 to 6 weeks
Yeah.
ahead. So when you've got players who come into the game, it says something when you have a player who comes in and just gets into the game, like you're saying about the people who get into Magic and they just get into the game, then they buy the packs. Those are the players that we want. We want the people who get into the game for the game. If someone comes in to the chat and their first question, the Discord is asking if they've missed the boat, if their first question is financially oriented, it says a lot about what they see in your game. So if you have people coming in and getting into the game, they're not so much worried about getting the rarest asset. They just want to build their collection
Mm-hmm.
to keep playing and continuing everything that comes in the game. And that's what makes the upcoming dungeon expansion so exciting. It's going to be exciting for all of us who have been here for months or a year or more for some of the people. And it's also going to be really exciting for anyone who just gets into the game as dungeons are coming out. It's you're pulling in the entire spectrum. And I think pretty much every other blockchain game has failed to see and use that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about with these games that don't have a plan, and Josh is right. We do have a plan. Even just you guys would be amazed how much, like, if I were to give you the design document on the dungeoning right now, and you were to basically go over it and try to understand all of it, you'd probably come back, and the first things you would say to me is like, "When did you have time to think of this and write it down?" Like, when did you have the time between everything else you were doing to plan this out? Because I don't know how you had that time. But the reason is the answer is that I was inspired to. Like I've spent between like when I'm working on things, it used to be like I would look at other blockchain games and see what they're doing. My research time in blockchain games has gone drastically down because instead I'm working on castles. So, what I'll do, what I used to do in my research time is instead I'll open up, our Git book and our planner, and I'll start going into there and I'll start building the systems. And again, I think like when you're going after the fun, it becomes way easier. When I look at this thing, I'm like, okay, is this fun? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, well then great. How do I deepen it? How do I make it more simple? How do I, reduce the friction to wanting to play more? And 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 that is really kind of like my guide, and that's been making things really easy when I build. And definitely like a lot of these other games, like I don't get that feeling like the thought has gone into it. And so I appreciate you acknowledging us for that. And it is really great to see people come into the chat and start to say things like, I love castles. This game is a lot of fun. Because yeah, I feel like that's not something that you see with a lot of the other games out there. That you don't see those kinds of comments. Everyone comes in and they're like, "Win Moon."
Yeah, or as Jeremy Lauzon just said in chat, when ROI, bro?
Oh yeah, win ROI, bro. Like, I mean, as a
Yeah.
speculator, it's a fair question. I mean, I would say like most of the time I get into other games, I'm questioning that. I'm like, well, if I want to get into this game speculatively, then how long until I can get like a return on what I put in? But one of the reasons that we build the games the way we build them is because I feel like no other game is fun. I remember I first got into Nova Rally. It sounded fun to me. And then I started playing it and I was like, okay, well, this was fun the first couple of times. And then after like my after a week of like sending my racers on races, I was like, you know what? It takes me like 30 minutes a day of sending these racers in order to, basically play the game. And I'm actually not having a lot of fun. It was kind of a
Oh,
fun concept in the beginning because it was so new and all these other things, but I'm actually not enjoying myself. And so I stopped playing it. And remarkably, my earnings like got nuked because I guess you just had to keep playing in order to keep your earnings good, and that's fair. But the game wasn't fun to me, so why would I do that to myself? I still have a bunch of Nova Rally assets actually, but uh,
yeah,
that's just like in a lot
I,
of those games. Is it like I look at them, I'm just like, but you're not fun, so why? And that's why I get even more jazzed up and working on castles more and more, and looking at other projects less and less. It's because they aren't delivering to me. Like there are a lot of other bigger games now. There's a lot of big companies getting on board, and a lot of them are just like from major Silicon Valley people. Big times one that comes to mind, and I don't know if I trust those because of their pedigrees and stuff. But we'll have to see. I'd love to be able to research more games these days. I'm also very happy with where Castles is.
absolutely. I think a good point you made with speaking of Nova Rally, of how like it was fun for the first week or so, and then it started losing its luster. And once that happens, then you look at it and you go, okay, they have to do something here to rejuvenate it in some fashion. And with the experience with Castles and the MSG team, watching you and Josh being willing and able to make adjustments on the fly, it's so different from well, I can use Nova Rally again, because when it started getting stagnant, one of the first things Sammy did was he started nerfing rewards because it
Mm-hmm.
was getting too inflationary, and then it's like, and then that angered a whole bunch of people because suddenly the rewards are a whole bunch less, and then the next thing I knew, there's this giant announcement of updates of overhauling a whole bunch of the system that he'd spent like months putting together, and I could barely understand what was going on. I'm like, I'm racing cars, and then now there's like music tapes to collect. What? I don't even get it. So
Yeah, same
it's
thing happened to me. Like I've talked with Sam and we've had him on stream here on the YouTube, and so I do like him, but when it came to the way he handled the building of Nova Rally and like the way he did his announcements, same thing. I was all like this is not at all what I was expecting, and I felt let down, and so I stopped being involved. And kind of the same thing with Million on Mars. There was a point where I was talking to both Sammy and Mitch over at Million on Mars, and just to be fully transparent with people and to speak my open mind, I was kind of like, Million on Mars, it's too complicated, too many clicks. Like it's going to take too much of my time to play. I'm like, I'm just going to step away from this game until it's simpler or it makes more sense. And I still have just about all my assets. I mean, I've sold some packs and stuff just because I was like, I don't know if this is going to be worth $9 ever again. Um, but uh, but I stopped kind of making videos with them and stopped following them because I I feel like they were there's so many ways to put this. Like I felt like they were off vision for me, or that, uh, you know, or this is a better way to put it. I wanted to protect my own artistic integrity. Like I started to realize that you know what, I've seen enough failures and successes now that I think I know what to do. I think I know how to make one of these games succeed, and to protect my own artistic integrity and my own sense of, integrity, I should really not play these bad games anymore, as little as possible. And some of them I did play, like Farmer's World, until it just wasn't profitable anymore. But otherwise, I was like, I'm going to protect myself because I don't want these other games to poison castles. I don't want to let them influence me in a way that is bad. So I just started to follow my own integrity and what I had learned. And I feel like I've learned enough now because it seems like it got really simple. It's all about the fun. It's all about the logistics and the physics, and everything else is arbitrary. Everything else like, oh, tokenomics and 101 and how many clicks do you do? Like all that stuff is really arbitrary, but the thing that is universal is it fun and do the logistics work out versus the player base? If you have 100 players, how does it scale? If you have 1,000 players, how does it scale? And to me, like those are the only answers that you need to be asking yourself, and the rest, I guess as long as you have, the passion and the experience with games, writes itself. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And with Million on Mars, my experience has been their user interface has gotten a lot better. It's a lot quicker, a lot less time consuming. But the thing that turns me off with that game now is there's too much going on. Like, whereas with Castles, you guys stagger everything out. Even when you stagger stuff close, like with lumberjacks and carpenters, it's still that like simple depth. So it's easy to comprehend and to process. Whereas with Million on Mars, it's like, okay, we have this event with these tokens, and you burn these things to get these tokens, and then you can make this building to try and get these assets that can make this other thing. And that's one of like three that are running simultaneously that I have to try and wrap my brain around. And it eventually just got to be to a point where myself and a couple other people I know have just essentially simplified to being like, okay, we're just going to be like food producers or power producers and just focus on that singular aspect, because at least that we can understand and have some control over how we play the game. Comparatively with castles, it's so easy to get involved with all of the aspects without being confused. And I love, again, it's the simplicity of castles that draws everybody in, because it's not just easy to understand and comprehend, but for my position as official support, it's easy to explain. And I love that when someone comes to me with a problem with the game, they don't understand how something works, it's easy for me to explain it. And what's becoming more and more of a potential issue is language barriers. So the simplicity in being able to explain something and have it translate to someone who may not be very good at English, I can still word it in a way that's easily understandable for them. Or we can use couple times I've used like just translating stuff between languages to make points.
Hmm.
So the fact that Castles is that easy to understand and explain has actually literally been really helpful with my job.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I'm happy to hear that it's easy to explain. I think some of our documentation is like image only, and part of that is because I'm running the company, I only have so much time, and we didn't have a UI UX person and who speaks English, so I was like, we well then, how do I put in this stuff? If it's just going to be a lot of work, I'm like, I'm just going to make an image and call it one and done, call it a day. But going forward, I think, you kind of made me present. That's something I have to consider doing is getting back to some of those like the calendar, putting that in a way that it's not an image that can't be translated. Because right now, if someone's, Turkish or Filipino or something and they don't speak English all that well, they rely on translators a lot and they won't be able to translate those things. So that's something I have to stay present of. But yeah, I'm happy to hear that it makes your job easy to to communicate to people how to play the game because of its simplicity. That is very good to hear, and not something I think about too often. But yeah, even thinking a million on Mars, and you're talking about like there's just so much to do. And like, so if you compare to the way Millionaire Mars does it, which you're making water and then you're making food and then you're making all this other stuff and you need all those things and you're constantly clicking to do these things. And you have like a lot of them and they're all in these different places. You have to go to your different slots to click on the different things. Whereas with us, it's like, oh, you want to mint something, just click on a button and keep clicking this mint 10 button until you're done. Um,
Yep.
or then with crafting lumberjacks, like you don't have to right now craft lumberjacks and carpenters and royal courthouse. You get to do them one at a time. So that goes back to the simplicity idea of the game, right? It's that. It
Yeah,
is.
definitely. And presently, or at least up until this point, one of the most common things to explain is just the land merging. And it's so easy because it's all in like, it's just tiered up at equal numbers. So it's like 3 farms is a ranch, 3 ranches is a village, 3 villages is a town, and
Mhm.
just on and on and on. And it's like, it's something that's almost universal in every language. Is just the basic mathematics that you guys have implemented in the way that merging works. So it's I think that's a big part of the mass appeal to a worldwide base for castles, which we are just like we've seen a bunch of it, but in the last week or two, I am really starting to see a lot of worldwide participation in the Discord, like in the community chat, people from all over the place. And it's awesome. Everyone's coming in. And as you said earlier, Robert, a lot of people coming in with the energy of, hey, this game is fun. I love the game. What's next? And that excitement just like I think I can speak for the whole team when it's like that excitement like gets us going to be like, okay, let's keep pushing this and let's bring the next thing. And I think it's wonderful when you and Josh pretty much sometimes have to fight people off begging for teasers, you know? I'm like, that's a good sign.
Well, it's funny when like they know that there are teasers. Like we have more done than what we're showing, which is really not like most blockchain games. I think they don't usually have a lot like chambered. You know what I mean?
Or in Josh's AMA that he did the other day, because I was present for all of it, um, he went into it having a couple of teasers ready to go that he wanted to drop during that AMA. And I think we were 45 minutes or an hour into it before he even got to that because there were so many questions and comments coming in that were like good questions and comments about the game. And he was so involved in that that it was at least 45 minutes in before he's like, oh, by the way, guys, I have teasers for you today. So I'm like, this is amazing. You didn't even you didn't even need that for this AMA to be a success. People just already had questions without the teasers. And then once he started dropping the teasers, then he got more questions about that. And he actually had trouble getting all the teasers out before the end of it because everyone just kept coming in with like good questions and comments for him. I think we were in there for it was over 2 hours, might have been 2.5 hours, and I think it rubbed up almost right to the start of your Twitter live that you did. I think right after his AMA was done. And I'm like, this is great. It just like leads one into the other. It's just like a whole afternoon of just MSG just spreading the goodness.
MSG spreading. You totally loaded it up like that on purpose, the way you said that.
Absolutely.
That's yeah, MSG isn't healthy for you, I hear. Except for us, we're incredibly healthy for your peace of mind and satisfaction of
Good
life,
good for your mental health, your satisfaction, and ideally your pocketbook
and
as well.
your sex life as well. I don't know about that, but yeah, it's funny you were talking about all of uh, the sneak peeks that he had in there. Was most of it was for the crafting, right?
Yes, he was talking about like crafting. It was mostly to do with like he was being careful with his words in a couple points because he's like I can't reveal too much, but
Yeah,
trying
he
to
was
talk
probably
about the dungeoning a lot,
yeah, he was
and you can
probably
tell
not
he's
trying
so
to talk
excited.
about rune source. That's what he was probably afraid of because we hadn't revealed rune source yet.
That was one of his teases for sure.
Yeah. And it was funny that his our things ended up running back to back. I'm like, damn it, like Josh is still my audience. They're gonna be pooped out and don't want to listen to me talk. But it's great. Yeah, he had a hugely successful AMA. That went on for almost like 2 hours. I was like, really? I was like looking at my watch. I was like, really? Really? Like what's going
Yeah,
on
yeah.
in there? Like I'm busy
It
doing
was
other things, and so I can, and I like him to hold those AMAs on his own because I have the YouTube and he has the AMAs and our schedules are both kind of so different sometimes that it's better that we just operate in different time schedules. But yeah, I'm surprised that it went on for that long. That was crazy. It must have been just eating it up.
yeah. Not only was it eating it up, but shortly after it started, I realized that like part of his issue was having to scroll back to find where he was in the questions. So I started putting green checkmark reactions for any questions he's already answered, so he knew where he left off.
Hmm.
And so it made it more efficient and sped up, and it still went on for 2 hours. So
Wow.
like we were operating at like maximum efficiency, and he still went for 2 hours. And like he'd get someone would ask a really good question, he'd answer the question, and then it would trigger something in his mind, and he'd be like, okay, no one asked this, but that makes me think of this, so I'm going to answer this question nobody asked as a piggyback to that because it's relative. And the amount of informational wealth he was just ready to spit out for everybody was fantastic. And I think that's been a really big part of the community support that you guys have received. Not so much from the core group who've been around forever, but from new people who come in. There's so many of them are commenting about how you and Josh are in the Discord regularly and answering questions regularly and interacting with people. And you don't just kick people out for asking a challenging question. You embrace that and you encourage it. And I think it gives people confidence in the game because you have that much confidence in the game that you're willing to. It's like a general leading his troops into battle who would sit at the very back and just watch it happen, whereas you and Josh are right at the front of the line in the trenches with all the soldiers,
Hmm.
going, "Hey, we're fighting this battle with you. We're going to succeed together." And As I pointed out in Josh's AMA to him, I said, part of this is that you, Josh, and Robert are not just in chat answering the questions. In my year here, you guys have actually actively been part of the community. You don't put yourselves above everyone else in that regard. You guys really come into the community as another member who just happens to also be the one creating the game. And you don't you don't really see very many who do that. And a lot of the ones who did, you could tell it was for um shall we say greedy intentions.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that, Ed. There's a lot to there's a there's a lot to think about there, and uh, the thing that's most present on my mind is you were talking about us being, like they're on the front lines with you guys, and really takes us back to like the original mission of the company, which is sure it's to make these games have fun, give people ownership of their assets, but we're actually trying to solve a very large problem in the world, and that problem is illiquidity of gaming assets, or essentially the illiquidity of money that gamers put into video games and no longer have any purchasing power or ownership of. Um, and so I take it very seriously because I think about the tens of thousands of dollars that I've spent on video games, and I enjoyed. I played. I mean, obviously, I knew what I was getting. I was going to pay $50 for that Xbox game, and I did, and I enjoyed it. $50 for that Steam game, played it, enjoyed it. But over time, that money has, kind of stacked up, and now I'm like tens of thousands of dollars in my entertainment. But what's available to us now in this new kind of gaming future is now being able to buy $10,000 worth of assets and have that be an asset that I own and that I can trade. And that creates liquidity at the level of buying gaming entertainment. And I just think that really transforms everything when it comes to gaming. And it's going to create liquidity amongst gamers who didn't have it before. So I'm a great example where, I'm 42, I'm 41 years old now. And, uh, and, up until like a year or two ago, I owned virtually no assets. In fact, I had become really unhappy with my place in Hollywood. I was kind of finally starting getting somewhere as a writer, but and I had new skill sets I didn't have before because I went to a place called Landmark that helped me increase my sales abilities and my communication abilities and things like that. But uh, but I didn't have any actual money or assets. In fact, I was at a point where like I lost my bank account like 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, because I didn't want to make bad movies anymore. Like I'd hit rock bottom on movies, and I was like, I'm not gonna work on another movie like this. Like I'm not gonna like it's crappy. I don't know why I keep working for these people. I don't know why I can't like get a better gig. And I think at the time I was just disillusioned and I was trying other jobs, like trying to get into marketing. I was trying to sell solar. I loved talking with people because as a movie editor, which I was for many years, and I was also becoming a writer, I was starting to get writing gigs. I think there's only one movie that I'm actually credited as writing, but I didn't actually write it. They just completely rewrote the script, which is fine but anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that I knew what it was like to be, someone who's almost 40 years old, played a lot of video games, put a lot of money into video games, and having virtually nothing to show for it. And it was really hard. And I was like, you know what? I don't want anyone to have to go through what I went through. And I would love it if like I could go into a video game and start a business, like buy a store in a video game, and then that that provides me some kind of value, long-term value, like owning a house or owning a real store or owning a coal mine or a gold mine or something like that. And I'm like, why not? Like, if there are these, freaking rich cats who can sit on top of stocks and make themselves wealthy for an eternity because they're so rich, I'm like, why can't we compete with them? by creating virtual worlds and creating virtual assets. I mean, you could look at trading stocks like a video game. It's all digital, it's all numbers on a screen. The only difference is that there is liquidity in the stock market. So all I have to do is to create what I call the stock market a value capture system, and all I have a great value market capture, great value capture system, not just any kind, just not any kind, but a great value capture system. So it's like all I have to do is build a competitive value capture system. And that's how we came up with the job token. And if you're new with us and you haven't heard of the job token before, it's because it's been tabled for the moment to focus on Castles the NFT game, but it is kind of like our ultimate goal is to get there into that and more metaverse like stuff. Um, but that's why we're here at the front lines with you guys, because I know what it's like to be a 4-year-old gamer with no liquidity of assets and having spent tens of thousands, possibly $100,000 or more in gaming entertainment with nothing to show for it. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be that way at all. There's literally no reason. I could actually have bought $100,000 worth of assets and at least had something to show for it. Is it worth more? Is it worth less? At least, I hope it'll be worth something. And our goal is that, the demand for the assets that we create continue to grow. And that's why we build them the way that we build them. It's very easy. Basically, just don't oversaturate the market versus the demand. And that's all we have to do.
Yeah, exactly. Supply and demand is such a huge role, and you and Josh have managed that incredibly well thus far. Um, and to the end of spending all the money on games, how I actually started looking at blockchain gaming was in 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic. I was just at home from work, everything was shut down. And I was like, okay, what do I do with all this time? And hopped on my Xbox and saw I could buy a download of Final Fantasy VII for like $20. And I'm like, I haven't played that in forever. I love that game. I'll download that and I'll just play that game. And so I did. And I played that game start to finish, spent like so many hours going through it, loved it again, but finished the game. And then I'm like, okay, now what? I put all that time and energy and effort into the game. And I'm like, I have nothing to show for the time. I'm like, $20, whatever. I don't care about that. That's fine. But there's nothing to show for the time. And I'm like, there's got to be something out there that you can start to like get something for the time you invest in a game. And then so when you were still Blockchain Kingdoms at the time, when I came upon that, and you had the whole philosophy of the job token and such, I'm like, here we go. This is the idea. So I just kept following it. And as you progressed, and I think I've said this to you before, Robert, I'm like, pretty much everything you do in my mind, I'm like, yeah, that's how I would have done it. Yeah, that's how I would have done that. Yeah, that's how I do that. Yeah, this makes sense. And so it's just continued for, I guess, about a year now since I first discovered blockchain and now Metasource Games. And it still continues when you and Josh unveil new things. I look at it and I go, yeah, this is probably about how I would have done that. And so much of it is because, like we've talked a bunch about already, is you focus on the fun of the game first and making it enjoyable for people to play. And then you bring in the economic element on top of that. So the game isn't relying on the real world economics. The real world economics are relying on the game. And that's not something we're seeing because even the other games that are successful, like like Axie Infinity. I mean, all it is you just fight over and over and over. And I think it was Healthy pointed out in the Discord one day. He was like, any of these blockchain games, if it wasn't for the crypto aspect, they'd all be failures. None of them would be anything anywhere at any time because they're also reliant aspect of people being monetarily invested in it versus actually enjoying the game. And I think that's where Castles is really taking a different approach and just turning everything on its ear. So I love promoting that aspect of it when people come into the Discord asking about it, especially when they have questions that are sort of leading questions about, like, well, how come you're not doing it like these other guys? And I'm like, because we're not those other guys.
Milestone reached.
Yeah, we have
Biofuel
a
will reach
different
the
vision.
maximum efficiency of biomass
Yeah.
burners. To aid in biofuel production, you are now capable of removing foliage that consists
I
primarily of
can't
wood.
think right now. I'm
Additionally,
distracted by everything that's
R&D
happening.
included your current dimension.
But to just to really, I don't want to go a little deeper that because Corey, who is a friend of Josh in the chat, was just talking about it. I kind of want to get into that, but I just
Yes.
kind of put a bookmark in what you were saying about how we do, how like you feel like we're doing things the way you would do it. Well, that's kind of like the way we look at it. Like I've said many multiple times in other streams and stuff like that, and to AMAs, which is like I do try to put myself in the shoes of our gamers, like and so how would we treat ourselves, or how is how we try to treat you guys, and and so that's really like the platinum rule there, right? Is treat you the way that you want to be treated. Now, sometimes there are certain things like a lot of people ask, like, why are lumberjacks going to cost 400 to recharge? And well, we think it's in the best interest of the game for many different reasons, and that we try to explain to people, like, once you understand the mechanics, that M source is hyperinflationary, and even right now, Josh and I are kind of like, wow, actually, oh, your microphone needs to go muted or something when you eat. Sorry, David. But we were like, there actually are a bit more lumberjacks being crafted than we thought, and we think it's number one, people were hoarding more M source than we thought they were. Number two, we gave everybody an extra week, so there are a few more lumberjacks crafted this initial day than we thought there might be. I think he was kind of thinking upwards 4,000. I was thinking maybe 4,000 to 6,000. If we don't go over 6,500, I'll be happy. I think that'll sound about right. But if we go over that, I'll be like, maybe we miscalculated somewhere, and we'll kind of have to evaluate. But yeah, we do try to think ahead of time about what we're doing, and how we would treat ourselves if we were you guys. Like, do things make sense? And a lot of these other games do things that don't make any sense. Gala Games, perfect example. The way that they sold their lands versus their buildings doesn't make any sense to me. I can almost promise people that what's going to happen with Gala Games Mirandus is that in the first month or two, all of the people owning buildings are going to get horrendously price gouged by the landowners. Why? Because the amount of land versus the amount of buildings is there's actually more buildings than lands. And since the lands are fixed and you're not creating any more lands, that creates a perfect opportunity for price gouging. There's some where like there's only so many plots where you can put like a grand building or something. Like, I don't know what those people are going to have to pay, but I bet it's not going to be fair. I bet it's not going to be fair. It's like, oh, you want this piece of
Nothing
plot?
in
$1
Gala
million.
Games is fair.
Well, yeah, I feel that way too. I feel like a lot of what they do is unfair. It's because they haven't thought about their economics. They haven't thought about the players. They're like, well, we'll build the stuff, we'll sell it to you, we'll make money, you'll be happy, right? And it's like question mark, question mark, question mark. And they don't actually put themselves, and actually exhibited when I told them what was going to happen with the Vox drop, how it was going to go horribly wrong. They instead of putting themselves in my shoes, trying to see what I was saying, whether or not it had any validity to it, instead they kicked me. And then all my premonitions came true. They had issues with the Ethereum gas fees. People were cheating and sending their friends using bots to download the Vox, and it went horrendously. And I heard that eventually they made it right with some people who paid too many fees. They got extra Voxes, but it's a perfect example of how they're there to serve themselves instead of like they pretend to be there for the players, but they're really not. They're there, and you see it in their streams. Like they're constantly joking amongst themselves, and I'm like, like people ask questions and they joke about things, and it's like, do you guys realize you're not actually providing value to the viewers right now? You're providing value to yourself by making stupid jokes that nobody cares about. Like, could you just answer the person's questions? Because there are plenty of legitimate questions being asked right now. But it's a great example of how they serve themselves rather than serving their player base. Anyways, Corey said something here I wanted to share. which is, he says, as somebody who's been friends with Josh since high school, he is very passionate about games. He can talk for hours about games, and we have many times. And I believe that because we geek out all the time. We must have said something. I'm not sure what he said. He says it really is an understatement. Whenever I hung out and played board games with him, we always have a joke that we don't let Josh explain them because it would take way too long. That's funny.
About the AMA going on for so long because
Oh,
Josh
right,
just kept
right.
talking. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm here for. Sometimes I just have to stop people and be like, okay, we've talked about this. That's because a
And
lot of
I
what we do
mean,
is technical. So we have a lot of technical talks that sometimes I got to cut short.
and it's great that you guys like you and Josh, you both bring that energy into the Discord chat. Like I think something I pointed out a couple days ago was there was you and Josh and like 3 or 4 other people all like geeking out really wonderfully over the Wheel of Time. It's just it was so cool that like that entire conversation, you and Josh, you weren't like big heads of the game. You were just like 2 dudes in chat geeking out with other guys over something you all love. And I'm like, this is why people love you.
Hmm. Yeah, it is fun to geek out in there. I was kind of surprised too, like all the Wheel of Time chat that got pretty deep there. I'm like, wow, look at all these people who like the Wheel of Time. I'm a little surprised that we have this many Wheel of Time fans in here, but a lot of people have been saying that, like they were brought in by like some of the, the artwork and stuff for the lands, and it reminded them of like, tabletop board games and the Magic the Gathering cards.
I one of my favorite things about all the cards that have come out with Castles so far is the borders. You guys always seem to be really on point with the borders of the NFTs in that they're classy, they stand out, but they don't stand out like sore thumbs like so many other games do. Like, no matter how good or bad the artwork is, like they could have immaculate artwork and then the border is just something god awful that ruins whatever they put into the artwork. And I feel with Castles, you guys are just like, okay, the border has to. It's like you guys treat it like a legitimate framing. It's great. Like I love the idea of Josh days ago when we were all talking about the idea of Castles T-shirts and how he started immediately doing up designs and just throwing up photos in chat, going like, "Hey, what do you guys think about this design or this design?" I'm like, the Baron logo looks awesome. Just the logo itself is so cool. You could just throw the Baron Castles logo on a shirt, and you could almost just sell that as is.
Hmm. Yeah, I think he is actually. I think that's what he's working on now.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
think any other game could do that because they, as you said earlier, they don't care about the artwork near to the degree that they should.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it all depends. I think the good artwork is actually like the easiest thing to do of all the games, but you don't see it in a lot of low budget games because they don't value the artwork. Whereas a lot of these more expensive games, or I should say, like the games coming up from Silicon Valley, do value the artwork more. And it's a little thing, right? Like if you have the money, and like even like our artists, like they were like, "Hey, we have to start charging you more for the art," and we were like, "Okay," like no arguments from us. Like you're giving us good work, we want more of it, and they're like, "Oh, okay, well we'll just give you all a good artist then." I was like, "Awesome."
Yeah,
Like that's
please.
yes, please. And even like yesterday, the guy James who runs the art studio, he was like "Oh, well, I have another artist for you to start working on these things." And I was all like, "What? I don't even have the material ready for that yet." So what was I doing right before the stream? I was hopping into Word document preparing it for him. I was like, "All right, here's the next thing you guys are going to work on," and now we're actually dividing it up so that now like Josh and Night Sky and we all have different duties for the creative stuff. So we're all working on like different heroes. I'm doing the spellcaster. Josh is focusing on the warrior character, and Night Sky is focusing on the rogue character.
Excellent.
Lighting it up that way.
To that end, that brings up a question I have actually.
Mhm.
How has the scaling up of Metasource Games, how's it gone so far compared to how you would have expected it would go? Like, is it all meeting your expectations to this point?
Uh, that's a tricky question. I'll say I'll start by saying I don't even know what to expect because I've never scaled a company to this size before. Like I've worked on movie sets, but even that, like the movies I used to make were so low budget and so fast that it was like you blinked and you missed it. Like you blinked and the movie was over. You had like 1 month or 2 months to make these movies.
Right.
And then the movie was done. They're very low budget movies. You get a couple $100,000, you hire a bunch of people, and they make the movie. It's over. And so it's like you literally it's like a head spinning, and you feel like you're in a carnival, and you're like, "Whoa, did we do the thing? Okay, send it to the editor." And so until now, that was probably like the biggest the best correlation I could make to what we're doing right now. But the difference is that we're a company now, and so I've never uh, scaled up to this level before this kind of company, so I don't even know what to expect. And I told our our team that, like, I told Victor, who runs our Apex NFT team, it's his company. And I was telling him, so this is our first time doing this. Like, this is where we need to be. This is what we need. And you guys have more expertise in this area, and we need your help. And he was like, okay. And so I would say what's gone differently than what I might have expected was the way the communication works between his team and our team, because they're predominantly Brazilian. So a lot of them actually don't speak English. And this has and hasn't been a problem in certain ways. Luckily, Victor does speak fluent English, so that's really not a problem. And I think he's hired a lot of people who don't speak English because, number one, he wants to support people in technology jobs in Brazil. And the other thing is, I think he probably just keeps finding the most talented people he knows are probably just speak Brazilian, because he wouldn't. I think if he was going to give us someone, his first priority is going to be getting someone. Can I pick this up? I don't want to fall and die. Sorry, I'm talking about the game now. Um, uh, so so that's kind of what's gone differently. Is I remember I was telling him, I'm like, well, I don't know why I never asked this in the first place, but I was like, oh, are UI UX designer? Do they speak English, fluent English? And he's like, no, actually, they don't speak fluent English. He's like, but a lot of the people on the team, they use the translators to translate everything. And I was like, well, Zhao, who is our all-star smart contract developer, he's very good. He's very fast. He's very efficient. He doesn't speak good English either. Has not been a problem. Like, he is probably 3 to 4 times faster than most like EOS developers who do speak good English. So we're like, well, it's fine as long as they're talented and as long as they can produce the work a better quality than other people. And the other thing that I didn't expect was that we were going to depend so much on Apex in order to build everything, because I actually moved to San Jose with the full intention of building the company here and like having a team here in the office. And we told Victor in the beginning, hey, so this is our goal. We want to have a team here in the US, but we're happy to work with you guys for a while. But his goal was always to keep our business. So he has always fought really hard to work hard and to produce results and to basically make the best app for us that he possibly can. and he's really delivered. And so when it came
Absolutely.
time for us to be like, well, what do we do? Do we go hire another team? Do we stay with Victor? It was a very simple answer because we felt that with Victor we can get things done 3 to 4 times faster than with any other team. So we're like, hey, let's continue doing business and let's scale up. And that there was really no, just because of the way that he and his team performed, that there was no question that that was going to be the outcome. So how's it different? I wake up every day in San Jose alone, and I'm in video conference calls at 6 a.m. That is that is how it ended up differently. Instead of like waking up at 8 to 9 a.m. going into the office. If we did it that way, you guys would be waiting another 3 to 4 months to be getting anything. And even then, there's no promise that the team would be as good as Victor's team. So it was definitely, just the smarter choice to stick with Victor's team. Or what he was saying in totally different, unrelated topic yesterday was, don't change the team, because I was talking about adding more features to certain things, and he was like, no, don't do that. It's going to slow everything down. And we're still negotiating because we want to add more features to the site later that make it feel more like a game and have drag and drop functionalities. And he was telling me the drag and drop thing is problematic, but it's all the way I said, it's a negotiation with technology. We just have to deal with these things. One thing we probably won't do is use Unity, because that is just terrible. I think for Unity is just terrible for the browsers, and it crashes and just doesn't work, I don't think.
Yeah, I have nothing but confidence in Victor and the Apex team with what I've personally seen of their work. And in the chat, it's only ever been Victor and Zhao, but they've both been on top of everything so fast. Like, especially today was a great example when we had the little hiccup at the start of the Lumberjack event. Victor was just there, like in the snap of a finger. He was on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like he was on standby when the clock struck 0, and as soon as something wasn't right, he was on it. And then he even posted a couple messages in the community chat quick, but that was flying at a million miles an hour. So he went in and started posting updates and support, and then I was just copying his messages from support and putting them into community chat to keep everyone updated. And just so good. And even the couple times I've had troubleshooting questions, I've reached out to Victor a couple times, because as I'm learning how to better troubleshoot things, I'm like, well, I can make use of the resources at my disposal. And I've asked him a couple of different questions, and he's always had really good answers, like, hey, here's the website I use if there's this issue, try this website and look for this. And I'm like, okay, cool, thank you. Because there's a lot of this stuff I'm actively learning as I go as well. And for me, so far, that's been a big part of my job, is taking the initiative to, uh, because if I'm going to teach somebody else how to do something, I have to know how to do it. So if a problem arises, I'm like, okay, I need to figure out how I can do this, so that if someone else comes to me with this problem in chat, I can walk them through it. And that came up basically yesterday. Someone was in chat, and I had to walk them through setting up their wallet for the daily giveaways. And then they're like, well, no, I have a new wallet. I need to like put the new one in there. And I'm like, okay, I just made myself a new wallet the other day and added it, so I know how to do this. So I was able to walk the person through it just step by step. And we got
Mm-hmm.
to the end of it, and I was like, okay, that took forever, but we got it done. And yeah, they're like, hey, thank you for your help and your patience. I'm like, awesome, tell all your friends about the game. Like, this is like the publicity that I can bring in my position, is if I'm able to help people through these problems and able to take the time and go through those steps with them, that gives them more confidence in the entire game and the company as a whole. And I'm like, this is how you build it. You want the people to enjoy it and be confident that it's not going to pull a farmer's world, shall we say?
Yeah, yeah. I think the moderators and yourself have really done a great job of instilling confidence in the project and giving people the feeling that people are looking out for it, and that it's great that you guys are all passing the knowledge on, and that you're tapping into Victor too, because he is definitely all about the success of the project, and he proves that reliably, and we're really excited to have him on the team. Excited to have all you guys on the team. Oh, I was going to go
Excellent.
craft a chainsaw, but
And I just
not no, not
I
like
just
a
got
Farmer's World
someone.
chainsaw, in-game chainsaw, guys, in Satisfactory chainsaw. Sorry for interrupting you.
And
Yeah.
no, it's fine. I just had someone send me a message. They need some support help, so I'm going to go on mute and go deal with that now.
All right, sounds good.
So I will talk to you later, Captain.
All right, thank you, Debbie. Talk to you later.
Yeah.
See, Corey Klein says, you got my downloading Satisfactory again. Haven't played it in forever. Oh, you play, Corey? Oh, cool. You know what? You and I will have to get Josh in a game like this, either this game or something like it. These are really great games. I don't know if I want to let someone else in this factory, because this factory is kind of becoming my baby. And, I kind of, I put things the way I like them. I don't know if I want someone coming in and messing my vibe here. Let's see. Yeah, you and I and Josh should play games sometime. I think it'd be cool. Josh and I don't know if we've ever actually played a game together. Oh, dang. I was going to use this chainsaw I just built. It doesn't have any fuel in it. I need to get some of that biomass fuel. Chainsaw, guys. No pun intended. It's just a chainsaw. Nothing to see here. There we go. Now it's got fuel in it. So this tree over here is bothering me, so I'm just going to chop it down. And I forget if they grow back. I hope not, because the thing was just always like an eyesore for me. And this tree over here, same thing. This tree is kind of an eyesore. I might have to put down foundations to stop them from growing back, but if that is the case, we'll worry about that later. I think for now, those are the only trees that are... Oh, this one over here too, guys. This tree has got to go. This tree's got to go. It's an eyesore. All you eyesores. I've got to die. Corey says, yeah, I rarely have time anymore. Moved to the East Coast this last year to start my own telecom contracting company. Work like 90 hours a week. I think the last thing me and Josh played was WoW. Started a telecom contracting company, huh? What inspired you to do that? All right, so what we're going to do is what I've been doing while I've been talking to Debbie is I'm building basically an upper floor factory up here for my copper production. So I'm going to run copper through here. I'm going to build this copper smelter here. And then I'm probably going to run the iron ingots temporarily into a storage bin here. Temporarily, because eventually when I get stacking poles, which I don't think I have yet. I don't think I have stacking poles. Yeah, I don't. When I have stacking poles, I want to use those to send my iron ingots all the way to the other side of the base, because that's where all my main storage is going to be. So, so for now, let's go ahead and build these smelters. Let's build 2 smelters, guys. Corey says about the telecom company, networking through guys I worked within years past when I worked for Josh's company. Worked from Maine to Georgia, one on cell towers. So I guess the inspiration is money. Oh, so you saw there's a lot of money in that industry, huh? Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of demand out there for many jobs and many businesses, especially with like infrastructure, telecom, all that stuff. There's probably a lot of need for physical-based work right now and infrastructure work. What am I doing, guys? I'm going to build the smelter. Is it in production? Yes. Yeah, let's go ahead, put it here. And now we'll put a splitter here. Put a couple more of these guys. Oh, what happened? Did I just put an extra one there? Oh, maybe I did. Doesn't matter. Ah, I'm all out of concrete now. I need concrete for, oh no, I don't. I don't need concrete for these. Well, that's good. Let's go ahead, fit our conveyor belt into here. Get this guy over there. Guy over here. And we're gonna start pumping these into iron ingots. And is this, yeah, there we go. These are going. There we go. Are my graphic settings not up all the way? Why? These look so ugly. Let's go into options, video. Everything's on ultra, including texture quality. So, yeah, I don't know why, just the ore just looks terrible. So what's your favorite video game, Corey? What do you like the most? Right, now we got some more of these guys. I gotta build that storage container. Pretty soon here, we'll be able to start building jump pads, and the jump pads will make it a lot easier to get around the base. Storage, guys. Need some storage. My temporary storage here. Gonna need a merger. What is it with this merger? Why does the merger have 2 entry points? Well, that's new to me. I thought mergers had 3. Splits conveyor belts in 3. Yeah. That was weird. Did you guys see that? It had like 2 orange inputs. Oh wait, this is a splitter again. Merger. Oh, it does. Oh, they changed this. Oh wait, no, I'm such an idiot. This other side will be orange too. So, okay. Sorry guys, I'm just tired. That's all. I'm just tired. Kind of don't want this here. Kind of want this here and this here. All right, and then we're gonna put that in there. And these are not powered yet, so we're gonna need to get these powered. There we go. Probably gonna need another biomass burner here pretty soon. That's really annoying. Let's remove this. All right. So capacity is 70 watts. We're consuming 46, so we're not quite overextended yet. But here we go, guys. We got our copper production going on. So we got our copper miner here pulling copper ore out of the ground, coming all the way up here into these two smelters. And these two smelters are taking that copper ore, putting it into storage for me to pick up. And the storage is going to be temporary because I actually want to put this all the way over there. See where those other storage containers are? This is where this is going to go later. But before I put it there, I want to build stacking poles. So I'm going to have to research stacking poles first. And then I will put these over here. But stacking poles are a great way to kind of organize your conveyor belt so you don't have like a million conveyor belts all crisscrossing over each other. The poles will help you keep them in like these highways and freeways. So in case you haven't noticed, I've played this game a lot actually already. Why I can kind of talk and know what I'm doing. Corey says about his favorite game, he says, I got into most recently was World of Tanks, but probably all time was StarCraft and Warcraft. Blizzard has been a serious letdown last several years, though. Yeah, well, they've gotten too big. They're not innovative anymore. All of the original talent that made the game great has moved on, and yeah, now they're just, the problem of getting too big. But they were great while they were the king, I don't know if there's any good games coming from like Blizzard alumni. I figure there must be. Yeah, there must be some great Blizzard alumni out there. So biomass wood. We're gonna make some more woodsies. So we want to keep researching some things. So what could we make? We could make rotors. Rotors will let us make jump pads, resource sinks. A kind of fun place to put things that we have too many of, but we're not quite there yet. Stackable conveyor poles. Ooh, guys, this is what I'm hungry for. Because then I can go and I can put those, put the copper storage where I want it to go. So let's do that. I think I'm gonna need more of this. And crap, I forget what it was. It was parts, equipment buildings. Dang. Doesn't show me what I needed. I don't remember what I needed. I think I needed reinforced plates. Gosh, guys, I don't remember. I'm so tired. But we're gonna do this thing first. We're gonna do this. Research stackable poles. So I need reinforced plates. I need a bunch of those. So I'll handcraft a bunch of these, and then we'll get to research stackable poles, and then we'll move those things where we want them to go. Yeah, I was a big fan of StarCraft, Warcraft, played Diablo, played all those games. And my hope is that when people play our game, they kind of get that same feeling, that same rush of playing fun, addictive games that are, What you keep coming back to. It's what we want castles to be. Oh, I need 50 of these. Do I have an... I don't think I'm gonna have enough, guys. The math is not in my favor. No, I'm gonna be just short. It's gonna be screws. Screws are gonna be the thing I need. To get screws, I'm gonna have to go back to my little storage area. I almost wish I had put these things actually down by that base down there. But if I did, well, then I'd have to pull it all back up for the factory and just kind of give and take. I'd rather put all this up by the main factory than, let's see. We need screws, guys. We need screws. Probably put some iron ingots in here. Do we even have iron ingots? I guess we don't. No iron ingots, guys. So we're almost out of fuel here. This is still processing biomass. Dang. Wow, there's a lot of biomass backed up here. Pop all that biomass in there. All right. Put the rest of the wood in there. And reinforced plates. That's what we were building so that we could research stackable poles. Research stackable poles. Oh no, I'm all out of, I need more plates. Because I spent them all making the stackable poles. All right, I think I'm going to place this last thing. I'm going to take a break because it's been a long week, guys, and I got a AMA in the morning. We're going to give away 2 King's Vault packs in tomorrow morning's AMA at 11 a.m. PS PDT, and I believe that is 6 a.m. UTC. All right, here we go. Load this up. All the goodies. There we go. Let's launch it into space.
Milestone reached. Improved versions of conveyor belts and conveyor lifts are now accessible. To
Take
encourage
all my
additional
goods,
verticality,
launch them into
conveyor
space.
poles now have a stackable variant.
Build a space factory or whatever it is that they do up there. Corey says, one of the things I'm loving about Castle's artwork for the Baron, LJ, Carpenter is Warcraft vibes I get. I asked Josh in the AMA if you guys have plans for lore because I see potential in that. Yeah, actually, we're working on more lore. Actually, we're for the dungeons, we're actually going to build out a big story. So that is something that we are in the process of doing. And we're probably going to do more, we're going to do more like videos, animated videos and stuff like that for the dungeoning. And we want basically the dungeoning to have lore that mixes well with the story so far, like the making of the wonders and all that good stuff. And so the dungeoning story is probably going to involve the Baron and the wonder building and how that mixes with the characters too. In fact, if you missed it at the beginning of this video, we were looking at artwork, just very, very early concept artwork for the dungeoning expansion. Very early artwork. All right. So let's put this here. And let's take this down. Let's take this down too. And so let's put this down as 8. So let's go with, need another storage thing here. Yeah, I mean, I used to work in Hollywood, and you know, I wrote a script that did okay during some competitions and stuff like that for the Hollywood Blacklist, which is a institution in Hollywood of uh, pretty good prestige. And so yeah, let's go up here. Yellow. Anyways, yeah. All right, so we're gonna put this over here. And so yeah, I'm kind of confident in my ability to be able to make a fun story that I think people will like. It's weird when it gets to yellow. I guess yellow just means that it's overlapping others' clearance maker. Oh, that's what it means. It's not a problem. All right. So this is what stackable polls do, is that it kind of lets me, so if I wanted to send more things this way, I could just kind of do the same thing. I could just use these polls to basically be like the things that organize where stuff goes. So now we're going to have these iron ingots feed from these smelters into this bin here, and then we're going to have this bin go and feed into like making wires and cables, because we're going to need a lot of wires and cables in this game. So this was a really good start. I'm really enjoying this game. Thank you guys for joining me. Remember to watch our AMA tomorrow. You know, remember to like and subscribe. And yeah, thank you guys for being here to play Castles and Craft the Lumberjacks at metasourcegames.com. And remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you.